Special guest all the way from Arkansas. This is a guy as a kid grew up on a cattle farm. It's the true American dream, right? Goes to Harvard. What does he do? He serves in the 101st Airborne in Iraq. Okay? This guy is an ardent supporter of Bernie, President Trump, and Republicans around this country. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Thank you all for the generous introduction to Lake County you've given me tonight. Faith, thanks for that great story. That is a great example of what Bernie Moreno will do for you and do for Ohio. I can promise you, Sherrod Brown is not going to be following up to ask if anything actually got done. I'm here just to give you a little bit of straight talk from Washington, D.C. You don't typically get that. A lot of what happens in Washington, D.C., I got to confess, can be a little fake, superficial. What happens out here in Ohio and Arkansas is where the rubber really hits the road, where you see the reality of things. In this case, it's a little bit reversed. Because as I've been in Ohio and I've seen Sherrod Brown's commercials and I've heard him on the campaign trail, gosh, I think that Sherrod Brown must be Donald Trump's wingman. He was right there with him for 4 years in a row. Folks, nothing could be further from the truth. I've seen him up close for many years. And I'm counting on you to deliver me a much better co-worker from the state of Ohio, Bernie Moreno. At every turn, Sherrod Brown opposed President Trump. He voted against the job-creating, growth-creating tax bill in 2017. He voted against President Trump's border wall. He voted against all 3 of President Trump's Supreme Court nominees. He voted time and time again to reverse President Trump's decisions to take the wet blanket off of our economy by rolling back the Obama-Biden regulations. And what's he done over the last 4 years? At every turn, he's rubber-stamped the Biden-Harris agenda. He cast the deciding vote for the trillion-dollar tax and spend bills that gave us record inflation. He voted for President Biden's Supreme Court justice, one of the most left-wing justices we've ever had on the court. At every turn, he's voted to uphold Joe Biden's job-killing regulations. He supported their agenda to slash our military budget at a time the world is getting more and more dangerous. That's who Sherrod Brown is, a dyed-in-the-wool, ideological liberal and partisan who does not represent Ohio. He represents the liberals in the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C. No matter how he talks out here in Ohio. I promise you that. I've seen it up close for many years now. But you have a chance to choose a new direction. And it's not just for Ohio, but it's for our nation. Because this is one of the most critical races for the United States Senate in the country. We have a lot of great candidates in many states. I hope that we win 8 or even 10 seats in November. But this is the must-win seat. This is the seat that puts us over the top and that fires Chuck Schumer as the Democratic leader of the United States. And I don't want to put too much pressure on your shoulders because it may not just be about you and Bernie in Ohio. It may be about our country and the fate of our republic and even Western civilization. Because we know the radical plans the Democrats have in store for this country. 2021, 2022 was just a small foretaste of it. If we don't beat them in this election, we may see them going for broke next year. And what a chance you have to beat Sherrod Brown in this election with Bernie Moreno. A great American whose story is a beautiful story of the American dream. Immigrants from an impoverished land who came here with nothing, who worked hard to make a better life, not just for themselves, but Bernie, through his success in businesses, for thousands of working-class Ohioan families. thousands of kids had food put on their table or had their college tuition paid for because of the jobs that Bernie created. Something that Sherrod Brown knows nothing about. I think he's literally never had a paycheck from anyone except the government. And Bernie, unlike Sherrod Brown, won't just talk the talk about supporting President Trump and his agenda out here in Ohio. He'll actually walk the walk and vote with him in Washington, D.C. as well. And we will make sure that we extend the Trump tax cuts that created so many jobs for so many Ohioans. We will make sure that we help President Trump finish the wall and crack down on illegal immigration. And we will give our troops the weapons that they need to defend themselves and defend this nation. We will never see the kind of shameful, disgraceful retreat we saw 3 years ago in Afghanistan, to include the terrible death of 13 Americans 3 years ago today. Before Bernie can do all of that for you, there's a few things that you need to do for him. Several of you have asked me, what can we do? Tell me more. Give me a plan. Okay, well, you're already here, so that's great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your contribution. Maybe you can give a little bit more. I used to say, skip a night at McDonald's with your kids and give Bernie an extra $20. But thanks to Biden's inflation, it's just like maybe skip a couple milkshakes with your kids at McDonald's and give Bernie an extra $20. Do it again next month as well. Tell your friends and family members to do the same. Make sure that you vote. Get out and vote on October 8th when early voting starts. Don't let Bernie Moreno go into Election Day down hundreds of thousands of votes, counting on making it up that day. Get out there and vote that day. As a little old lady told me on the first day of early voting in my first election, Tom, I already went and voted for you this morning. And I said, well, thank you. I'm glad you're so enthusiastic. And she said, honey, it's not that I'm enthusiastic, but at my age, you never know what's going to happen the next 2 weeks. And why should we let the Democrats have a monopoly on the dead person vote? But you never know what's going to happen. So get out and vote on October 8th. Take a couple people with you. And maybe most fundamental, tell everyone about Bernie Moreno and the stakes of this race. Yeah, I know you've seen a lot of ads. You're going to see a lot more. But in the end, the best advertisement is not a television ad. The best endorsement is not from one of Bernie's future colleagues. It's from all of you, with your friends and your family members and your co-workers and your church members, your neighbors. And I don't mean the Republicans who are going to come to an event like this or go to Scotts County Committee or anything else. I mean the people who maybe don't get out to vote every election. Maybe the ones who have voted for Sherrod Brown in the past or are disappointed with what has happened over the last 4 years. Talk to those people. And if you do that, I promise you it will make a difference. It doesn't have to be an hour-long conversation. All you have to do is let them know, I'm for Bernie Moreno. Here's why. And I hope you will be too. If you do that over these next 10 weeks, if you encourage them to get out and vote starting on October 8th, if you are Bernie's voice for the next 71 days, I promise you, he will win and he will be your voice in the United States Senate for the next 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring up your next United States Senator, Bernie Moreno.